And I hope people do understand it finally, and they are going to your page to get some great content. Great job this week. Episode 13 of Cross Functionality. That is cross dash functionality for those wondering. And we are talking today about pushing away negative thoughts. And I was watching yesterday, we were recording this on a Saturday morning. I was watching this yesterday, the Phillies and the Braves National League
Mm-hmm.
Division Series, among the other games, of course. But I was watching that game yesterday afternoon as the week was winding down. And I have to tell you, Philadelphia revved up first playoff game since 2011 against Spencer Strider, the defending champions, the Atlanta Braves. I mean, they are stacked as well. But Spencer Strider, starting pitcher yesterday for Atlanta, he was an A ball a year ago, for those who
Mm-hmm.
don't know. And now here he is. He is starting in a pivotal game 3 with the series tied at 1. And of course, he went out, and I made this prediction prior to the game. I hate to pat myself on the back and say, that I was right or made a good prediction, but I did in this case. I said he's going to go out there. He's going to do what he usually does. He's going to throw very hard. He's going to have that wipeout slider, and that's exactly what he had. He was getting a lot of swings and misses, fastball upper 90s. I mean, the heater was what? At times hit triple digits, and the slider was just complete. It was devastating.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I said to myself, everything has to go right for the Braves to win this game, and everything has to go right for him because he is young. It's a hostile environment. It's a tough spot to be in when you are a young pitcher. And if something goes wrong, things will start to snowball. Well, walked the leadoff hitter, Brandon Marsh. I forget which inning it was now. Then he threw one down the line on a pickoff attempt. Marsh got to third, and then it all started to snowball from there. And you can just see in his body language the negative thoughts starting to really creep in. So, again, as I mentioned and prefaced this at the beginning of the show, it's not just, it's all areas of life, but and it's also at times at the highest end of athletics, whether it be baseball, softball, any sport where those negative thoughts do really start to creep in.
Yeah, and it's interesting you say that because I think when I was younger, I had this notion that the girls I was watching on TV, they must not deal with this stuff. They must
Yeah.
be so bulletproof. They must be so, I don't know what I thought. And then I found myself and I realized, it hit me one day. I was like, I'm one of those girls. I'm playing with those girls. And we all struggle. We all struggle with dealing with mental performance. And if anything, you just said it, the higher the level, all of a sudden, the bigger the fall. And that pressure, it's not even that it's pressure. It's sometimes just, what's going on within your own head, that's like stressors really, So it is interesting. And I think that's why we are so impressed by a freshman who can go out and play at a high level, or someone who's younger who can go out and just have ice in their veins and have that bulletproof mental performance. Because like we saw, his physical game was limited by his mental performance ceiling. And I think that is interesting to note for a lot of athletes.
Well, you could just tell in his body language, and you can see it in athletes too. If you watch the game, not from a fan perspective, but from kind of a different type of coaching evaluation perspective that we do, that you just see it in their body language. You see when somebody's going wrong, and it's very easy to tell. It's very easy to read somebody like that. And yesterday, the broadcast brought up Bryce Harper, and they talked a lot about him and the expectations that were put on him from a very young age. And when he failed at times, and his career has been at times a roller coaster, but when he has been going bad, people sort of dumped on him for that. And it's because he hasn't lived up to those expectations. So not only do you have to deal with those negative thoughts, but you have to deal with all those external factors as well that creep into your mind, as Bryce Harper has in his entire career. Now, on the flip side of that, when you look at Mike Trout, based off the expectations, which really were diminished when it came to Trout in comparison, there's those external thoughts, those external factors, they're not always going to come in and hurt you as an athlete because the expectations aren't there.
Yeah, it is. It is so interesting. And even, I think of Judge in his game yesterday and how he's been. And I wonder if it's right. Is it him, because granted, people just go into slumps, right? But is it like this expectation of himself where he's like, I have to perform. It's no longer like, oh, I get to do this. I get to play the game. I get to enjoy this. I get to live one pitch at a time. Now it's, well, my mind is thinking of my legacy. My mind is maybe thinking of what I should be doing, what I mean to this team. And yeah, it all circulates back to like, okay, can you actually be hyper vigilant in the present and so disciplined and not letting your mind drift anyway, whether that's the last pitch, the next pitch, it's just this one, good, on to the next one. And that's it. And that's where you live. And Yeah, I have to imagine it just gets harder and harder and harder the higher and higher the level goes. And as much as, you know, we played at a high level when it came to softball, we didn't have money on the line. And I think that is potentially another huge like factor that a lot of professional athletes deal with that a lot of college athletes don't deal with right now.